What would you do for a crush? Drop a text, slide into their DMs, maybe buy them a coffee? Well, back in the 1920s, a guy named Jay Gatsby built a literal castle, bought a wardrobe full of imported silk shirts, and threw the most chaotic, massive mansion parties every single weekend, all just hoping that maybe the girl of his dreams would randomly wander in. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Welcome to The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald's absolute masterpiece of drama, wealth, and world-class obsession. Today, we're breaking down the entire crazy story, chronological style, completely through the eyes of the one guy who witnessed the whole train wreck firsthand, Nick Carraway. Let's get into it. Our narrator is Nick Carraway. Nick is a pretty chill, low-key guy from the Midwest who moves to New York in the spring of 1922 to get into the bond business. He rents this tiny, beaten-up cottage for $80 a month out in a place called West Egg on Long Island. Now, West Egg is where the new money lives, people who got rich super fast and love to flaunt it. Right next door to Nick's tiny shack is an absolute monstrosity of a mansion owned by a mysterious billionaire named Jay Gatsby. Across the bay is East Egg, which is where the old money aristocracy lives. These are the people who have been filthy rich for generations, and they look down on the West Egg crowd like they're absolute trash. To kick off his summer, Nick drives over to East Egg to have dinner with his cousin, Daisy Buchanan, and her husband, Tom. Tom is a total nightmare. He's a massive, arrogant ex-football player who peaked in college and spends his time reading racist books and flexing his wealth. Daisy, on the other hand, is like a human fairy, super charming, beautiful, and she talks in this mesmerizing whisper that makes everyone lean in. At dinner, Nick also meets Jordan Baker, a cynical, professional golfer who is constantly bored by everything. The vibe is luxurious, but incredibly tense. During dinner, the phone rings, and Tom gets up to answer it. Jordan casually drops a massive truth bomb on Nick. Tom has a secret mistress in New York City, and she has the audacity to call the house during dinner. Daisy knows, Tom knows, everyone knows, but they just play along. When Nick finally gets back home to his shack that night, he sees his neighbor, Jay Gatsby, standing out on the dock in the dark. Gatsby is just standing there, shivering, reaching his arms out across the dark water towards a tiny green light blinking at the end of Daisy's dock across the bay. Nick thinks about calling out to him, but Gatsby looks so lost in his own world that Nick leaves him alone. A few days later, Tom basically kidnaps Nick for a wild day trip to New York City. On the way, the train stops in a depressing gray wasteland called the Valley of Ashes, which is where all the industrial pollution gets dumped. Watching over this wasteland is a creepy old billboard for an eye doctor named Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, just a giant pair of blue eyes wearing yellow glasses staring down at everyone. This is where Myrtle Wilson lives. Her name is Myrtle Wilson, and she's married to George Wilson, a clueless, exhausted mechanic who has no idea his wife is cheating on him. Tom, Nick, and Myrtle head into New York to a secret apartment Tom rents just for his hookups. They throw a mini alcohol-fueled party with Myrtle's sister and some neighbors. Myrtle gets progressively drunker and louder, acting like she's a high society queen. Eventually, she starts chanting Daisy's name just to annoy Tom. Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. Tom does not take it well. He straight up punches Myrtle in the face and breaks her nose right there in the middle of the living room. The party ends in absolute chaos, and Nick ends up catching a 4 a.m. train back home, completely traumatized. As the summer heats up, Gatsby's mansion turns into a full-blown amusement park every single weekend. Hundreds of random people roll up in their cars, drink his free booze, destroy his lawn, and dance the night away. The crazy part? Nobody is actually invited. They just show up. But one Friday, a chauffeur in a blue uniform walks over to Nick's shack and hands him an actual official invitation. Nick arrives at the party and realizes he's one of the only people there who was actually asked. He runs into Jordan Baker and they spend the night wandering around, listening to wild rumors about their host. Some people say Gatsby killed a man, others swear he was a German spy during World War I.
Around midnight, Nick is sitting at a table talking to a handsome, elegantly dressed guy around his own age who looks incredibly familiar. They realize they fought in the same division in France during the war. After chatting for a bit, the guy smiles this absolutely brilliant, reassuring smile and says, "I'm Gatsby." Nick is stunned. He expected a fat, old, shady businessman, but Gatsby is young, charming, and addresses everyone as Old Sport. Later that night, Gatsby asks to speak with Jordan Baker alone. When she comes out of the meeting, she tells Nick she just heard the most mind-blowing piece of gossip, but she swore she wouldn't tell. A few days later, Gatsby rolls up to Nick's house in his gorgeous, ridiculous cream yellow sports car. He invites Nick to NYC for lunch, and during the drive, Gatsby starts dropping his life story, but it sounds incredibly fake. He claims he's the son of wealthy people from the Midwest, and when Nick asks where, Gatsby straight up says, San Francisco. He claims he was educated at Oxford because it's a family tradition, and he carries around a literal war medal from Montenegro and a photograph of himself at Oxford just to prove he isn't lying. Nick thinks he's a total fraud. At lunch, Gatsby introduces Nick to his business partner, Mr. Meyer Wolfsheim, a shady gangster who literally wears human molars as cufflinks. Wolfsheim accidentally brags that Gatsby is a man of fine breeding and lets slip that he's the guy who fixed the 1919 World Series. Nick realizes Gatsby's money is definitely not coming from legal sources. After lunch, Nick meets up with Jordan Baker, and she finally tells Nick Gatsby's big secret. Turns out, 5 years ago, back in 1917, Gatsby was a broke army lieutenant stationed in Louisville. He met Daisy, and they fell madly, deeply in love. But then he got shipped off to fight in Europe. Daisy promised to wait for him, but she got tired of waiting, faced pressure from her rich family, and ended up marrying the insanely wealthy Tom Buchanan. Gatsby never got over her. Every single thing he has done since then, buying the mansion, fixing the baseball games, throwing the massive parties, was all a giant, elaborate trap to get Daisy's attention. He bought that specific house just to be across the bay from her green light, and now Gatsby wants a favor. He wants Nick to invite Daisy over to his tiny shack for tea, and then Gatsby will accidentally drop by so they can reunite. Nick agrees to do it. On the day of the tea party, it is absolutely pouring rain. Gatsby is a total nervous wreck. He sends a guy over to mow Nick's lawn in the rain, orders a literal truckload of flowers, and at one point, he gets so panicked, he tries to run away before Daisy even gets there. When Daisy arrives, the initial meeting is painfully awkward. Gatsby accidentally knocks over Nick's mantel clock, catches it, and just stands there blushing. Nick decides to leave the two of them alone and goes out to sit under a tree in the rain for half an hour.
If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd erase every year you were mine. Through all the wealth and the empty space, nothing compares to your fragile face. If I could bend the past to my will, this aching heart would finally stand still. Yearning in a life, you're my only
When Nick walks back in, the vibe has completely changed. The rain has stopped, and Gatsby is practically glowing with happiness, while Daisy is crying tears of joy. Gatsby invites them both over to his massive mansion to show off his wealth. He takes Daisy through his gold-plated rooms, his massive library, and his bedroom. He starts pulling out piles of breathtaking imported flannel and silk shirts, throwing them into the air like confetti. Daisy literally buries her face in the shirts and starts sobbing, saying, "They're such beautiful shirts. It makes me sad because I've never seen such beautiful shirts before." What she's really crying about is the realization that she could have had love and money if she had just waited for him. Nick realizes that the real flesh and blood Daisy could never live up to the perfect, godlike illusion Gatsby built of her over 5 years. But for now, Gatsby is on top of the world. Now, this is the point where Nick fills us in on Gatsby's actual backstory. His name isn't Jay Gatsby, it's James Gatz. He wasn't born into wealth in San Francisco. He was the son of broke, shiftless farmers in North Dakota. He dropped out of college because he hated working as a janitor for paying tuition. When he was 17, he was clam digging on Lake Superior when he saw a luxury yacht owned by a wealthy copper tycoon named Dan Cody. He rowed out to warn Cody that a storm was coming, and Cody was so impressed by the kid's ambition that he hired him as his personal assistant. Gatz changed his name to Jay Gatsby right then and there and spent 5 years traveling the world with Cody and learned how to act like a rich gentleman. When Cody died, Gatsby was supposed to inherit $25,000, but Cody's mistress cheated him out of it. Gatsby was left broke again, but he had a new identity and a burning desire to be rich. Back in the present, Tom Buchanan starts getting suspicious about where his wife is spending her time. He actually accompanies Daisy to one of Gatsby's parties, and the atmosphere is completely dead compared to the previous weeks. Tom spends the night acting arrogant and snobbish, calling Gatsby a bootlegger, while Daisy is bored and miserable. Gatsby is devastated after they leave. He tells Nick that the party was a failure because Daisy didn't like it. He tells Nick his master plan. He wants Daisy to go to Tom, tell him, "I never loved you," and then he and Daisy will go back to Louisville to get married, pretending the last 5 years never happened. Nick tries to give him a reality check, saying, "You can't repeat the past." Gatsby looks at him like he's insane and shouts, "Can't repeat the past? Why, of course you can." Everything comes to a boiling point on the hottest day of the entire summer. Tom, Jordan, and Gatsby are over at the Buchanan house for lunch. The heat is making everyone angry and sweaty. While Tom is out of the room making drinks, Daisy straight up kisses Gatsby on the lips and tells him she loves him. Tom walks back in and sees the way Gatsby and Daisy look at each other. He instantly realizes what's going on. Desperate to break the tension, Daisy suggests they all go into the city. They rent a room at the Plaza Hotel, open some whiskey, and the room becomes a literal pressure cooker. Tom finally snaps and starts attacking Gatsby's character, mocking his use of the phrase "old sport" and accusing him of running a massive, illegal bootlegging operation with Meyer Wolfsheim. Gatsby stands his ground, looks Tom in the eye, and says, "Your wife doesn't love you. She's never loved you. She loves me." Tom aggressively denies it. He reminds Daisy of their history, their vacations, and the sweet moments they shared. Gatsby begs Daisy to say she never loved Tom, but Daisy cracks under the pressure. She starts sobbing and says, "I did love him once, but I loved you too." That absolutely crushes Gatsby. Tom, realizing he has completely won the battle and broken Gatsby's power, arrogantly tells Daisy to drive back home with Gatsby in Gatsby's yellow car, showing he's not even threatened by Gatsby anymore. On the drive back, Nick, Tom, and Jordan stop by George Wilson's garage in the Valley of Ashes, only to find a horrific scene. A massive crowd has gathered. Myrtle Wilson is dead on the ground, her body brutally mangled. A witness tells the police that a fast-moving yellow car tore out of New York City, slammed directly into Myrtle, and kept driving without even tapping the brakes. Tom is horrified, but he realizes the car matches Gatsby's description. He immediately assumes Gatsby killed her. When they get back to East Egg, Nick finds Gatsby hiding in the bushes outside Tom's house, watching over Daisy to make sure Tom doesn't hurt her. Nick is disgusted by Gatsby's apparent coldness after the accident, but then Gatsby drops the ultimate plot twist. Gatsby wasn't driving the car, Daisy was driving. She was so stressed out after the hotel confrontation that she thought driving would calm her. Myrtle had seen Tom driving Gatsby's yellow car earlier that day, and when she saw it coming back, she ran out into the street to escape her abusive husband, thinking Tom was inside. Daisy panicked, hit the gas instead of the brake, hit Myrtle, and Gatsby pulled the emergency brake from the passenger seat after the impact. Gatsby tells Nick he's going to take the blame for the whole thing to protect Daisy. Nick looks through the window and sees Tom and Daisy sitting at the kitchen table, eating cold chicken and talking intimately. They aren't fighting, they are conspiring. Nick realizes Gatsby is standing guard for absolutely nothing. The next morning, Nick goes over to Gatsby's house. Gatsby's exhausted but refuses to leave town because he's still waiting for a call from Daisy. He decides to go for a swim in his pool since he hasn't used it all summer. Meanwhile, over in the Valley of Ashes, George Wilson is losing his mind with grief. He looks up at the giant billboard of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg and decides those eyes are the eyes of God, demanding vengeance. Tom Buchanan tells Wilson that the yellow car belonged to Gatsby. Wilson trackers Gatsby down to his mansion, sneaks into the backyard, and shoots Gatsby dead while he's floating on an air mattress in the pool. Then, Wilson turns the gun on himself and commits suicide. The aftermath is incredibly depressing. Nick tries to organize a big funeral for his friend, but absolutely no one shows up. All the hundreds of people who drank Gatsby's alcohol and used his mansion completely vanish. Meyer Wolfsheim makes up a fake excuse, and Daisy and Tom pack up their bags and leave town without leaving an address or sending a single flower. The only people at the funeral are Nick, Gatsby's poor old father who traveled from North Dakota, and an eccentric party guest with thick glasses. Disgusted by the cold, careless, and corrupt nature of the East Coast elite, Nick decides to pack up his things and move back home to the Midwest. On his last night, he walks down to Gatsby's empty dock, looks out across the bay at Daisy's blinking green light, and reflects on how Gatsby spent his entire life chasing a ghost from the past, an impossible dream that was already dead before he even started. And that is the tragic story of The Great Gatsby. If you found this summary helpful for your classes or just enjoyed the drama, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below letting me know which classic book we should break down next. See you next time, old sports!
If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd erase every year you were mine. Through all the wealth and the empty space, nothing compares to your fragile face. If I could bend the past to my will, this aching heart would finally stand still. Yearning in a life, you're my only love. Outside is finally clearing away, but there's a shadow in the words you say. I threw my shirts like confetti on the floor, just to see the girl that I used to adore. You're crying now, but is it joy or regret for the life we lost and the ghost we met? If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd erase every year you were mine. Through all the wealth and the empty space, nothing compares to your fragile face. If I could bend the past to my will, this aching heart would finally stand still. Yeah, not alive, you're my only love. the sea. Just standing right here next to me. Why does it feel like you're already slipping away? Just stay.